Welcome back to the Stock TA podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Stewart. Today, we're looking at a junior copper explorer that is executing an aggressive dual nation strategy right in the heart of the world's premier mining belts. We're talking about Vortex Metals, ticker VMS on the TSX Venture and VMSSF over the counter. Please note this interview is being disseminated on behalf of Vortex Metals. While the global copper market faces an unprecedented structural supply deficit, Vortex has put itself at the center of the action. They hold 100% control of two massive drill-ready, high-potential copper gold VMS properties in Oaxaca, Mexico, but their immediate catalyst window is wide open down in Chile, where they just completed a high-resolution airborne geophysics study at their flagship Illapel Copper-Silver Project. Joining me to walk us through the discovery roadmap is Vortex Interim CEO Michael Williams. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so how about we start down in Chile? That project seems pretty interesting. What have you guys done in the past couple months to get set up, and where are you going next with it?
Well, what we've done is we followed up on a previous drill program from about 18 months ago, where we got some good results, but we didn't intercept any what I would call significant mineralization. But as one of the phrases that geologists use is, we intercepted smoke. Now we need to follow it to where the fire is, and that's what we're going to be doing. We recently did several months ago some geophysical airborne surveys, and we're going to follow those up with some ground-based geophysics. What that does, it sort of helps the geologists determine where they think the targets are, because we'll have a better understanding of the structural controls and the geology. So that's what's next. So what we're going to do is interpret the geophysics, and then I'd like to drill it later on this year. It's an interesting copper project, given it's literally, a few not even kilometers, 100 kilometers from an existing mine. So we're just going along strike, trying to find other deposits, and we see indications that it's very prospective. So as a mining company, that's what you look for, where they've previously found previous mineralization. It's a good starting point going forward. And also, the type of deposit we're looking for is called manto. These mantos are formed by an intrusive deposit, which I think in this case is an iron oxide copper gold. We're seeing if an iron oxide copper gold IOCG exists on our property, and that in and of itself could be very significant.
Okay. So are you permitted to drill later this year, or do you need to pull permits on that?
No, we're permitted in Chile.
Okay. So what does the drilling season look like? Can you drill there year round? Do you need helicopters? How does that look, basically?
No, we don't need helicopters. You can drive right to the project. The good thing is it's, I want to say, 30 minutes off the Pan American Highway. We're about 3.5 hours north of Santiago, heading towards Region 3. So it's a good area, and it's easy to get to. You can drive right to it. There's a nearby town that has a mining history close by. The infrastructure's there. There's currently water there. There's electricity. We just need to get the drill turning in the right area, and hopefully come up with what we consider economic mineralization.
Okay. So Chile, pretty prolific mining area. If you don't have to use a helicopter, it should be pretty cheap to drill. So you should be able to drill a lot of holes once you identify targets, right?
Yes and no. It's good that we have the infrastructure there, so we don't have the expense of a camp. But drilling costs in Chile, because Chile's largely dominated by the major companies, so the drill companies prefer like big, extensive contracts for the majors. They tend to charge a lot more than to the juniors in order to secure a drill program. So we might be looking at 350 meters all in, where if we're in Peru, it's probably $250 a meter. So it's not bad, but what I like about Chile, when I go to bed at night, I wake up and I don't have to worry about losing the project. It's probably, I would rank it number one in Latin America for mining jurisdictions. The government's pro-mining. They always have been. A lot of their GDP and foreign income comes from mining. So it's a great place to be. And a lot of the Chilean mining law has been exported internationally. So their mining law is good, their court system's good. It comes down to, as it should, putting a drill into mineralization. That's the challenge.
Okay. Anything you want to cover about that project before we pivot to your Mexico project?
No, look, I think Illapel has a really good chance of us making a discovery there, both on the Manto and hopefully on the IOCG. It's the right geological environment. The endowment looks really strong. There's previous artisanal mining. It's now up to us to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And when I say us, I mean the geologists. As a lot of these projects come down to, it's how the geologist figures out where the mineralization is and how to drill it. And, our head geologist there as a director, John Larson, used to be the country manager globally for BHP. So certainly the right pedigree, has seen these geological environments. Now it's just a case of drilling.
Okay. That's definitely sounds like an interesting project, and you should have news there through the end of the year, right?
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
I like it a lot.
Okay. All right. So in Mexico, the properties you guys have, look on your website, were founded by a pretty famous geologist, and he was really excited about it. So can you expand kind of where you are with that and what the road looks like moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. It was founded by a geo named David Jones, and David Jones was famous for making several discoveries, including a major one in the Guerrero Gold Belt, and that was for Teck. His model, it was a skarn model, discovered 4 million ounces by the time he left, and I think they've currently up to 8 million ounces, and in the belt we're around 30 million. So it was a world-class discovery. And I remember David telling me the story. For that discovery, he was bonused about $80,000. Now, that discovery probably made Teck hundreds of millions of dollars.
I hope he got paid in
So
gold.
yeah, he should have got paid in gold, given what the gold price has done. He could have got paid in lead and done better. But as a consequence, he went below Guerrero to Oaxaca, which is where our projects are, staked some area that he liked geologically, but hadn't seen any previous work. And he came up with some excellent showings at surface on what we call a volcanogenic massive sulfide deposit, a VMS. VMS are highly sought after by majors because I don't want to say they're easy to mine, but once you find one, they can be significant size and have good grades and have precious metals associated. Looks like ours is a copper gold system, and there's two projects there. Riqueza Marina, which is the one I really like, and Riqueza Marina is probably one of the best things that I've seen undrilled in my career. There's an area that we call the felsic dome, and a felsic sequence is just part of the volcanogenic massive sulfide. VMS deposits are formed on the ocean floor with these black smokers precipitating out the minerals, and eventually the oceans receive over hundreds of millions of years, and you're left with your VMS deposits. So at this felsic dome portion, we're seeing a very big geophysical anomaly sitting below it, mineralization at a topographical low on surface, which is what you want to see. That's what the geos get excited about. It just needs to be drilled. And then several kilometers away from that, about a mile and a half, you've got a multi-mile outcrops of mineralization at surface that's higher grade than you normally see. So in our industry, most of those type of deposits have been drilled 50, 100 years ago and have since been mined out. this was an area that people weren't exploring in Mexico. The Mexican government came in, opened it up with highways. We're close to a port, close to power. We just need to get some drill holes in now. As good as David was as a geologist, and he was renowned, and he over, I think he overlooked how complex Mexico can be for permitting, and Oaxaca especially. It's an area that there's a lot of kind of old school Mexican communities that have been there for hundreds of years. Money to them is important, but it's not everything. It's protecting their culture. And they can't even agree themselves to hold an assembly. We just need an assembly held locally. I think all the participants in the community have indicated they'd be in favor of us having drill permits, but they're kind of infighting amongst themselves on holding a meeting for to move the community ahead. So what we've done is we're about to announce, and by the time this comes out, you'll see it. We're having the former ambassador to Roberta Jacobson to the Mexico United States ambassador is coming on as our advisor and consultant. With her connections federally and also at the local level, I think she'll be able to help us with that permitting. It'll bring everything to a head. And she's also brought along a colleague, James Story, who's the former ambassador to Venezuela, and he's also ran the Latin American strategy for the United States government. So people with Latin American experience that understand the lay of the land, and I think will be able to negotiate this permitting issue because it's gone on long enough. We need to drill it, and when we do, I think it'll be it has the potential to be very unique, and unique in the sense that this should have been drilled a long time ago and it hasn't. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to push that. So I think it's a key tenet of the company. I've always wanted to drill it, and it looks like we'll be able to, hopefully, when our consultants get everything ironed out for us.
What is the timeline look for permitting, assuming you get the General Assembly? Are you looking at 6 months, a year? Like, how does it work in that
Yeah,
particular area?
I would say on the low side, 6 months, more realistically, a year, because what'll happen then is once we've got the local approvals for drilling, we then put in all our environmental impact studies. And the local approval is basically a tick mark for the bigger application to the federal government, which is called SEMERNAT. And so then we would just have them approve it, and then we could drill it. So, Mexico, it's when I started in the business, it was one of the preferred environments to go. That's a long time ago now, almost 30 years, because of its geology, mineral endowment, and also you had a very pro-mining government. What's changed in the last 8 years is the geology and mineral endowment is still staggering. It's phenomenal. But the government is not pro-mining anymore. I think it's now neutral. So there's a lot more hurdles and hoops that you need to go through to get to the point where you can drill and develop your projects. And, unfortunately, Mexico is the issue with cartels. And, that's proven very, very worrisome and troubling for multiple Canadian and US mining companies. But fortunately, in Oaxaca, it's the cartels really haven't taken hold. That doesn't mean down the road they won't try, but right now they're not in those regions. But the Mexican government looks like they are sincere about trying to fix that problem.
I mean, I checked the close today. You guys are at 2.5 cents American, and you have two, sounds like pretty good projects that the market is basically discounted that both are stuck in neutral, not going anywhere, and that's clearly not the case. So how do you explain that disconnect?
Well, I think well, first of all, it's embarrassing as management to have a stock, trading below where you RTO'd, which was 20 cents. I think I didn't mention that just before we went public, David Jones passed away, and he had a lot of people in the stock privately. So when we went public, without that connection, we immediately got hammered down. And then, it's taken too long to drill those Mexican projects. And a lot of people were excited at the time, have since lost interest. And, we're now putting in a new segment of shareholders and investors that are willing to give us enough time to permit it. I'd like to think, to your point, that it's a year away. So I think there's been a malaise, and part of it has been because we didn't deliver on being able to drill Riqueza Marina. And as I say, I think we were a little bit overly optimistic on timeframes. Mexico turned tough. It's a little better now. And then we put in only a few drill holes at our Illapel project in Chile. On the last hole, we started to get into some mineralization. So at the time, we were undercapitalized and couldn't do it. I think we did 6 drill holes. Well, I would have preferred to do 12 to 18. It might be a different story, but what it provides is a buying opportunity at this point. You're getting a well-known management team. Most of us, if not all of us, have had geological success. My sister company, Aftermath, is currently trading anywhere from $200 to $250 million market cap. It started off very similarly to Vortex. I always say Vortex is an earlier stage Aftermath. And, we've got some high profile people both investing and on our boards.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have some interesting catalysts coming up, and bringing on those consultants that could be, the real needle mover for the company here in the short term.
I think it will be, because what it'll do one of two things. One, they'll be able to advance it and we'll be able to get a drill on it. Or I'll go, I'm going to throw my arm. Okay, let's move on and do another acquisition. Let's not spend any more time or money on Mexico. And I tell you this, Kevin, if it wasn't that good of a project, I would have moved on from it 2 years ago, because you can't wait forever to get drill permits if the government doesn't want to cooperate. Looks like they are starting to now, but it's really good. So therefore, I'm comfortable taking one more kick at the can. And if we are successful, I believe it'll be special.
Nice. So just as we wrap up here, what do you think is the biggest catalyst between now and the end of the year for your company?
I think two things. I think being able to put some drill holes into Illapel and delivering some results. I've got a quite a big following, and if I can show people that we have geological success, I can put my foot on the gas a bit, and I think you'll see the market react. That's number one. Number two would be some movement in Mexico. If we can see progress there, I think it'll be reflected in the market, because there's a lot of people that also have the same beliefs in that project that I do.
Well, awesome. Michael, thank you very much for coming on. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next CEO deep dive. I'm Kevin Stewart. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Kevin.